In the first multiple choice question, the correct answer is B. Dan would be convicted because of the continuing trespass doctrine. Why is that? Well, when Dan takes the golf clubs initially, it's wrongful, but he has the intent to return them. That intent to return prevents a completed larceny from happening at that initial moment because we're missing the mens rea of the intent to permanently deprive. All we have is the wrongful taking. But when Dan later decides to keep the clubs, his initial wrongful taking now joins with the newly formed intent to permanently deprive, and we have larceny by continuing trespass. The second multiple choice question gives you the same fact pattern, but asks whether Dan would be guilty of burglary in that scenario. Here, the correct answer is D. Dan would be acquitted because he didn't have a sufficient mens rea. He would not be guilty of burglary. Here's why D is the correct answer. For burglary, we must find that the actus reus of this wrongful entry and the mens rea of the intent to permanently deprive has to occur concurrently. That means at the same time. There's no continuing trespass doctrine in burglary. When Dan entered the home, he did so wrongfully and without the consent of the owner, but he didn't have the mens rea of the intent to commit a felony because he didn't have the mens rea for larceny. Why? Because he was going to return the golf clubs. His later formed felonious intent doesn't change the burglary analysis, even though it can change the larceny analysis. We freeze the frame at the moment of his entry to ask, do we have an unlawful entry and do we have an intent to commit a felony therein? We have no intent to commit a felony therein. Therefore, for that purpose, that can't be the correct answer. What about the fact that he entered through an open window? Could that have been the correct answer? Well, let's check the statute to see what's required in the state of Westmoreland. Looks like Westmoreland dropped the breaking requirement. Since breaking isn't required in this statute, his entry through an open window is irrelevant to the analysis, and C would be the wrong answer. Just as long as he entered wrongfully, that's all Westmoreland cares about.